Hello, my name is Rohitha Madaluri. For my Comp 435 final project, I did it on the 2014 to 2018 Marriott Hotel data breach. Marriott International is an American hospitality company that was founded in 1927. It is the largest hotel chain in the world with a total of 30 brands in 131 countries. It's known widely for its luxurious hotels and rich customers. It also acquired Starwood Hotels, which is another hotel chain, in 2016. So what happened to Marriott? After acquiring Starwood Hotels in 2016, Marriott decided to continue to use the previously infected IT system of Starwood Hotels. After 2 years of using it, a security tool inside Marriott found a suspicious event where a user with administrative access requested for guest information. The attack consisted of compromised credit card details, passport numbers, and birth dates of over 300 million guests in the global guest reservation database. From this image, you can see that Marriott Hotel is notably one of the world's largest data breach and hacks that has ever happened. Behind specific attack vectors are some cultural/business factors that could be part of the root cause of the breach, and that is the merging of Marriott and Starwood Hotels. The attack went undetected for years. Starwood did not have the best security culture before its acquisition. The Wall Street Journal reported that Starwood employees found the reservation system very difficult to work with and secure, and a different attacker breached that system in 2015, which went undetectable for 8 months. After Marriott acquired Starwood in September 2016, most of Starwood corporate staff, especially the technology and security, were laid off. Marriott was nowhere ready to book guests for thousands of newly acquired hotels with its own in-house reservation system, so they used Starwood's old system, which was already infected with malware and breached by hackers. Another factor that could contribute to the root cause of the breach was the political tensions between US and China. The cyber attack on Marriott hotel chain was suspected to be part of a Chinese intelligence gathering effort. Hackers are suspected of working on behalf of the Ministry of State Security, the country's communist-controlled civilian spy agency. There are amid growing tensions between US and China. The Trump administration back then continued to threaten China with taxes on hundreds of billions of dollars of exports to the United States if the countries cannot reach a resolution. The Trump administration has been working with Chinese officials to negotiate an end to the trade war. In September 8, 2018, Marriott received an alert from an internal security tool that there had been an attempt to access the Starwood guest reservation database. Marriott first became aware that they had been hacked when the security tool flagged an unusual database query. The database query was made by a user with administrative privileges, soon revealed that the person to whom that account was assigned was not the one who made the query. Someone else was able to take control of that account. The investigators looked through the system for clues and found a remote access Trojan, also known as RAT, along with Mimikatz, which is a tool for sniffing out username and password combinations in system memory. Both these tools were used to give the attackers control of the administrator account. It is still unclear how RAT was placed onto the Starwood server, but Trojans are often downloaded for phishing emails. There are 4 vulnerabilities within the Marriott attack. The first vulnerability is employee education. The employee details were estimated to be obtained by phishing. Marriott did not reveal a lot of details about the attack, and this was because of the CEO himself. The second vulnerability is logged analysis and detection. Attackers encrypted the data in Marriott servers, which made it harder to detect in logs. Although it finally picked up, the breach was already going on for about 4 years by the time it came to notice. The third vulnerability is that there is no centralized security system. Even though Marriott was aware of the previous attacks on the system, they decided to use some of the same hotel system, which was infected by malware, instead of making a centralized security system, which resulted in late detection. Last but not least, the absence of defense in depth. Absence of proper in-depth safety measures allowed the attackers to access potentially valuable customer information that went undetected for many, many years. So who hacked Marriott and why? Like I mentioned before, articles in New York Times and Washington Post claim that these hackers were employed by Chinese intelligence services. They say that the code and attack patterns used matched up with the techniques employed by state-sponsored Chinese hackers. The attackers use cloud hosting space frequently used by Chinese hackers. Other clue is that the breach is part of a governmental attack rather than just cyber criminals trying to sell valuable records on the dark web. This shows that the attack was not a raid. So you might be wondering, what's the motivation behind this attack then? The government sources say that it's part of the broader Chinese effort to acquire massive amounts of data on American government employees and intelligence officers, and Marriott is a top hotel provider for the US government and military. Stolen passport numbers in particular could be used to track movements around the world. And the ultimate goal is to create a huge data leak for information on American government employees that big data techniques can be used to analyze on. There are many consequences of a cybersecurity breach, some being data theft, financial losses, reputational damage, and fines. Specifically to Marriott, it exposed 500 million users' personal details, such as name, address, passport numbers, which resulted in shares subsequently dropping by 5.6%. The hackers also got financial data of a maximum of 327 million users with unknown number containing encrypted credit card data. Marriott is also facing lawsuits seeking class actions. Two men in Oregon allegedly sued Marriott for exposing their data, and the lawsuit reached up to $12.5 billion in costs and losses. This is priced at a value of $25 for each of the 500 million users that were affected by the data breach. So why is it important to study the Marriott hotel data breach? Because the Marriott breach shows inadequate cyber disclosures and also why it's important to adopt new attack prevention techniques. The three key takeaways from the Marriott hotel data breach is cyber risk disclosure continues to be inadequate. Special events like the mergers, especially Starwood and Marriott, can create cost-cutting trigger cyber breaches. And last but not least, systemic cyber risk in the system is building. So for cyber risk disclosure, you can see that we are unaware of existing requirements and security laws that are very explicit to cybersecurity and cyber incidents. And breaches can occur through merging and acquisitions. So regulators should consider imposing disclosure requirements about the company's plan to protect the data infrastructure after a merger. And last but not least, once a hacker has managed to get into computer system of a company, the hacker can potentially access the entire company supply chain, which is why it's important to understand cyber risk, understand the potential risk much better. So the current state of affairs at Marriott is that they're in the process of emailing all the guests that were affected and have set up a whole website to answer questions about the data breach. They also put up security measures to protect consumer data. So the first one is don't overshare. Social media is being used frivolously by people sharing information online. And secondly, monitor accounts. Some recommendations to protect data include freezing your credit card account, consider credit card monitoring services, signing up for identity theft protection, dedicating a credit card for certain types of transactions like online shopping. So what does the hotel industry have to do to avoid data breaches like Marriott? So first thing is develop a security-centered culture at the top level. Security-centric mindset ensures a serious approach to customer data security, and this approach should be top-down instead of bottom-up. Secondly, staying ahead of the security wave. When it comes to customer data security products, companies should be proactive, constantly reviewing and trying new developments to stay ahead of hackers. And lastly, recognizing that customer data security is not a cost center, but a revenue center. Companies need to understand that customer data security is part of the revenue center, not cost center. With better security, you not only prevent breaches, but also build trust within your customer base to generate more revenue. So how does the future for Marriott look like? The first priority is to use tokenization along with encryption to swap out all sensitive data across the enterprise. So why tokenization? Tokenization breaks the raw text into words called tokens. The purpose of tokenization is to swap out sensitive data, typically payment card or personal identifiable information, with randomized numbers in the same format. This data is replaced with an indecipherable token. Secondly, encryption is not enough, and therefore we should use tokenization because this does not have any of the problems of decrypting, going through a brute computing force or using a hacked or stolen key. Tokenization makes sure that it does not rely on encryption to protect data. The original information is not contained within the token, and thus the token cannot be reversed into original sensitive data. And lastly, Marriott is using various de-identification methods and best practices like differential privacy, pseudonymization, risk-based anonymization, tokenization, and data masking. These are a lot of citations I use to gather information about the Marriott hotel data breach, a lot of which come from articles that have been written by Harvard Business Review, Wall Street Journal, New York Times, etc. These are all the citations for the images that I've used, which also come from credible sources written by people who have actually researched about the data breach itself and got a lot of information from within the company and how the company has been affected outside, and how the customers have also been affected by the breach itself. So some questions that you can consider about the Marriott hotel data breach is that what are some measures that the hotel industry can take to learn about the vulnerabilities that can be exploited from within, as well as the implications of a data breach attack? And secondly, what are some steps that employees should take to protect their personal data and consumer data? What type of security protocols should be implemented within within Marriott Hotel? That wraps up my presentation for the Marriott Hotel data breach. Thank you for tuning in.